He asked her to be his contract girlfriend for one night, but the Gala crowd went silent when she walked in with him. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. The soft hum of conversation and clinking silverware filled the air of the elegant ballroom, the kind of place where everyone looked like they belonged. The polished floors gleamed under the soft, warm lighting, and the air was thick with the smell of luxury. Everyone in the room was dressed to the nines, from tuxedos to couture dresses, looking every bit the part of the social elite. But at one of the tables near the back, Lily had no business being there. She had barely enough to scrape by, much less attend a lavish event like this. Her second-hand dress clung uncomfortably to her frame, and her heels pinched her feet. She glanced at the menu, her stomach growling, but she had no intention of eating anything that wasn't covered by the meager sum she had left in her wallet. Still, this was her chance to prove herself, to show that she could at least look the part for one night. She was here to help her friend, who had been unexpectedly called away, by stepping in as a date for a wealthy businessman she had never met. But her nerves were getting the best of her. Lily took a deep breath, forced a smile, and glanced around the room, trying to look confident. She had been told her date would be a quiet, reserved man named Kevin, someone who wasn't into the usual Gala crowd. She had imagined him to be older, maybe a bit more distinguished, but not a millionaire playboy type. She was just here to pass the time and get through the night. Table 7. She muttered under her breath, her heart racing as she slowly walked across the room. The footsteps of her high heels echoed in the grand hall, mixing with the soft music and chatter around her. Her mind was full of nerves and doubts. Could she pull this off? Would she embarrass herself? She spotted a man sitting alone at the table, his attention fixed on his phone, his dark suit perfectly tailored. He looked up as she approached, blinking at her with an unreadable expression. "Hi, you must be Kevin. I'm Lily. Nice to meet you," she said, trying to sound more confident than she felt. The man, slightly taken aback, stared at her for a moment. Hi Lily," he said, his voice deep and smooth. He didn't get up right away, but simply gestured to the chair across from him. "I think there's been some kind of mistake." Lily froze for a second, her smile faltering as she tried to hide the panic that was creeping in. But the man's gentle smile reassured her, and she assumed he was just shy or awkward. She took a seat, her mind spinning with the possibilities. She had made a mistake. This wasn't Kevin, but the way he looked at her made her second-guess herself. He had the kind of presence that seemed to fill the room without saying a word. "Blind dates are always a bit strange, aren't they?" she said nervously, trying to fill the silence. "But don't worry. I'm a great conversationalist. You don't have to say much, I can handle that." The man's lips curled into a faint smile. "I'll take your word for it," he said, still watching her closely. For a moment, the tension between them eased. She began to tell him about her day, about her work, about how she got roped into this by her friend. But he remained mostly silent, simply nodding along. Lily didn't mind. She was used to doing the talking in awkward situations. Her words flowed freely as she babbled on, trying to fill the silence, telling him about her dreams of one day becoming an artist, even though she was still working as a waitress to make ends meet. "I'm sure you're much more exciting than me," she said with a laugh, sipping her water. "What do you do?" The man paused, and then, almost as if carefully choosing his words, he answered, "I work in tech." Lily smiled awkwardly, assuming he was one of those successful, corporate types, but she didn't know much about technology. "Tech, huh? Coding and apps and stuff?" she guessed, trying to be polite. He chuckled lightly. "Something like that," he said, his voice warmer now, though still a little guarded. She smiled back, noticing how different he was from the men she usually met. He wasn't flashy or arrogant, but there was an undeniable aura about him, a quiet strength. Maybe he was shy, or maybe he was just tired of the usual small talk that filled these events. Whatever it was, she felt a strange connection. But just as she was about to ask him more about his work, her phone buzzed. She glanced down at the screen. It was a message from her friend, Jenny. "Hey Lily, where are you? I'm at table 7. See you soon." Her heart dropped. She wasn't sitting at the right table. She had been talking to the wrong man this whole time. She felt her face flush with embarrassment, and before she could say anything, she stood up abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. "I'm so sorry," she said quickly, grabbing her coat. "I thought you were someone else. This is so embarrassing." But the man stood up, too, his hand reaching for her, as if to stop her. "Wait," he said, his voice filled with quiet urgency. "It's fine. Really." Lily froze for a moment, looking back at him. Something about his expression made her hesitate. Was he trying to save face for her? Or was there something else at play here? Before she could figure it out, she turned and fled from the table, her heart racing with the knowledge that she had made a fool of herself. But there was something else nagging at her, a feeling that she hadn't just messed up a simple date. No, this felt different. There was something about him that she couldn't shake. As she hurried out of the ballroom, she wondered if she would ever see him again, and why the thought of not seeing him bothered her so much. "I am so sorry for running off like that," Lily thought, her heart still racing as she walked briskly down the grand hallway. She could still hear the faint echo of her footsteps in the empty space, mixing with the sound of her fast heartbeat. Her face burned with embarrassment, and her mind raced with what had just happened. She had been sitting at the wrong table with the wrong person. The man she had mistaken for Kevin wasn't just some ordinary businessman. No, he was someone more, someone important. But who? She couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't the last time she'd see him. After all, he was more than just a chance encounter. The way he looked at her, the way he didn't seem to mind that she'd made a fool of herself, it was different. And that thought alone made her hesitate. Should she turn around? Should she apologize again? But before she could convince herself to do either, her phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out, her fingers shaking as she read the message from Jenny. "Hey Lily, where are you? I'm still at table 7. Kevin's waiting. See you soon." It hit her like a ton of bricks. She had been sitting at the wrong table the entire time. She had talked to a complete stranger, thinking he was Kevin. And now she had just bolted out of the gala, leaving him standing there, probably confused and certainly bemused by her sudden exit. She stood still for a moment, staring at the screen. Her stomach twisted in knots. She should have been more careful. She should have looked around before sitting down. But no, she had let her nerves get the best of her. She walked toward the exit, each step feeling heavier than the last. As she stepped outside, the cool evening air hit her face, but it did nothing to calm her. She had never been this embarrassed in her life. All she had to do was sit down, eat dinner, and make a polite conversation. Instead, she had managed to create the most awkward situation possible. She pulled her coat tighter around herself, wishing she could disappear into the night. But the man, the one she had mistaken for Kevin, kept appearing in her mind. The way he had paused before speaking to her, the way his eyes had softened when she had apologized, even his quiet smile. It had felt genuine. He hadn't judged her, even though she had given him every reason to. And somehow, that meant something, didn't it? As she was about to step off the sidewalk, her phone buzzed again. She groaned. It was a message from her friend, Jenny. "Lily, where are you? You left so suddenly. Kevin's looking for you. Come back inside." Lily took a deep breath, hoping the dizziness that had crept in would fade. She paused, thinking about it for a second, then turned back around. She couldn't leave without finding out who that man was. She had to make things right, at least in her own mind. She hurried back toward the entrance of the gala, trying to push the nerves away. It was just a misunderstanding, right? It wasn't the end of the world. When she entered the grand hallway again, she spotted Jenny standing near the door, her eyes scanning the crowd. She waved her hand as soon as she saw Lily. "There you are? What happened?" "Kevin's been waiting," Jenny said, her voice light, but with an underlying curiosity. Lily swallowed hard, trying to explain herself. I just sat at the wrong table," she said, looking down at the floor. Jenny's eyes widened in surprise. "What? Really?" she asked, a laugh escaping her lips. "So you weren't at the table with Kevin this whole time?" Lily shook her head. "No, I wasn't. I'm so embarrassed. I thought he was Kevin." Jenny raised an eyebrow, then her gaze softened. "Well, that's one way to break the ice." She smiled, a teasing glint in her eyes. "But I think we should go back in, don't you think? Kevin's waiting." Lily nodded, her cheeks flushed with the weight of the situation. She couldn't let it go. She needed to make up for running off so abruptly. They re-entered the ballroom, and Lily's eyes immediately searched for him, the man she had sat with earlier. There he was, standing by the window, watching the people around him. He was unmistakable. His dark hair was perfectly styled, his suit sharp, and despite everything, he had the same aura of calm she remembered. He wasn't looking at her, but she couldn't help but wonder if he had noticed her leave. She slowly walked toward him, trying to steady her breath. But just as she was about to approach, he turned to her, his eyes locking onto hers. For a moment, it felt as though the rest of the room faded away. Lily stopped in her tracks. She wasn't sure what to say. She wasn't sure if she should apologize again or simply leave it behind. But before she could figure out what to do, he spoke, his voice smooth and calm. "You came back," he said, his lips curling into a slight smile. It wasn't mocking, it was genuine. His eyes softened. "You don't have to explain anything, really. But I am curious. Why did you leave so suddenly?" The words hung in the air between them, and for a moment, Lily was speechless. She had expected him to be annoyed, maybe even offended, but here he was, showing more patience than she deserved. She finally spoke, her voice a little shaky. "I thought you were someone else." She stopped herself, not sure how much to reveal. He simply nodded, not pressing for further details. "It's all right," he said gently. "I understand." The kindness in his voice hit her harder than she expected. In that moment, something shifted. The awkwardness melted away, replaced by something unfamiliar, yet comforting. She didn't know why he was being so understanding, but it made her want to know more about him. This wasn't just some random mistake. No, something about this encounter felt different. She was about to say something else when she heard a voice call from behind her. It was Ginny again, standing by the bar, waving her arms like an excited teenager. Lily turned toward the sound of her voice. But for a moment, she just stood there, staring at the man who had, in just a few moments, already changed everything about the evening. Lily's heart was still racing, but now, it wasn't from embarrassment. It was from the realization that maybe this night wasn't just a random mistake after all. "I think I should go talk to him," Lily thought, her mind still reeling from the unexpected calmness he had shown when she returned. After a few moments of quiet reflection, she found herself walking toward him again, drawn by an undeniable curiosity and something deeper, something she hadn't expected to feel so soon. The gala was in full swing around them, but her attention was solely focused on him. She had made a mistake, she knew that, but he didn't seem to hold it against her. He had been kind, understanding, nothing like what she had expected, and that was the reason she couldn't walk away without getting a little more clarity. As she approached him, he turned, noticing her right away. His calm gaze softened with a hint of a smile, and he held up his hand in a casual wave, as if nothing had happened. "Back again?" he asked, his voice laced with an easy amusement. Lily felt a flush of embarrassment, but pushed it aside. She had to keep going, had to find out more about him, or at least clear up this strange, awkward misunderstanding. "I didn't mean to run off like that," she started, her voice more composed now. I didn't know who you were, and I didn't want to make a bigger fool of myself." She paused, her eyes briefly meeting his before glancing away, her fingers nervously adjusting the strap of her purse. "But you didn't mind, did you?" she added quietly, almost as if seeking reassurance. He shrugged casually, his smile widening. "Not at all. It was a little funny, actually," he said with a light chuckle. "But I get it. These things happen." His relaxed demeanor made her feel a bit better, but there was still something about him that was so enigmatic, so out of her league. He wasn't some random businessman, and that much was obvious now. "Thank you," she said softly. "I guess I should probably introduce myself properly. I'm Lily." She held out her hand, her nerves threatening to creep back, but she fought them down. He reached out to shake her hand with a firm yet gentle grip. "I'm Liam," he replied, his voice low and steady. "It's nice to meet you, properly this time." His eyes held hers for a moment longer than usual, and for a second, Lily felt something shift between them. It wasn't just about a mix-up anymore. It felt like there was a connection forming, something unspoken. But what? Was it just her nerves playing tricks on her? Before she could dig into her thoughts, Liam glanced around the ballroom, his expression slightly more serious. "So, how about we make this night a little less awkward? I think we should at least have one drink, just so we're not pretending this whole situation didn't happen." His suggestion was simple, but his tone made it clear he was trying to ease her discomfort, maybe even offer a small olive branch. Lily smiled at him, feeling a little lighter than before. That sounds like a good idea, she agreed, surprised at how comfortable she felt with him despite the earlier tension. But I warn you, I'm not much of a drinker. A glass of wine, and that's about it. She laughed nervously, realizing she was being a little too chatty, but Liam seemed unfazed. I'm not much of a drinker either, he said, his gaze still warm, though it seemed like he was keeping something to himself. But it'll be good to talk, even if just for a little while. He led her toward the bar, and as they walked, Lily tried to push the thought of him being a millionaire, or whatever he actually was, out of her mind. She needed to focus on the conversation, on the person standing next to her, not the unknown. The bar was a sleek, modern fixture in the middle of the ballroom, filled with polished glasses and high-end liquors. Liam gestured for her to sit, then ordered 2 glasses of wine. As they waited, the conversation naturally flowed, as if they had known each other for far longer than the few minutes they had shared. Lily found herself telling him about her dreams, about the art studio she had always wanted to open but couldn't afford. Her words were honest and filled with hope, as they usually were when she spoke about her passion. To her surprise, Liam listened intently, asking questions, genuinely curious. That sounds incredible, he said, his voice sincere. You've got big dreams, Lily. I like that. He took a sip of his wine, his gaze never leaving her face. What's holding you back? He asked softly. She looked down at her glass, hesitant. Money, mostly, she admitted. It's hard to make art when you're just trying to pay bills and get by. I wish I could focus on my work, but life doesn't exactly make it easy. She smiled wryly, a little embarrassed at how personal she was getting so quickly. I get it, Liam said, his expression shifting to one of quiet understanding. It's not always easy to follow your dreams when reality keeps getting in the way. But if you want it enough, you'll find a way. I believe that. His words were surprisingly comforting, and for a moment, Lily felt like she was speaking to someone who truly understood her struggles. But as the conversation continued, Lily couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to him than he was letting on. She had to know who he really was, beyond the charming businessman who was offering kind words and listening to her dreams. She had to know if he was just a fluke, a chance encounter, or if he was someone who could actually make her life different. She decided to ask. Liam, she said, her voice a little hesitant but determined. What exactly do you do? You said you worked in tech, but that's all you've really said. She wasn't sure why it mattered so much now, but she needed to know. She had to know the truth, no matter how strange this night had become. Liam paused for a moment, his smile fading slightly as if he was considering something. Then, finally, he spoke, his tone shifting. I guess it's time you knew, he said quietly. I'm not just in tech. I'm the CEO of Parker Enterprises. And yes, I'm also a millionaire. He watched her closely, waiting for her reaction. I am the CEO of Parker Enterprises, Liam continued, his voice steady, but with an almost apologetic edge, as if preparing for her reaction. I know it sounds crazy, especially after what happened earlier, but I didn't want to throw that out there right away. I wanted to see who you were first, not just someone who'd be impressed by my title or my wealth. Lily sat frozen, the words hanging in the air between them, not fully processing what he had just said. He was the CEO of a company and a millionaire? How had she not figured that out before? The way he carried himself, the way he spoke with such confidence, it all made sense now. Her mind was racing, her thoughts jumbled. She had spent the entire evening, the past few hours, talking to a man she had assumed was just another businessman trying to make his way through a blind date. But instead, she had been talking to a man who could change everything for her. The weight of his revelation hit her all at once, and her stomach tightened with nerves. She had been so caught up in the moment, in the fact that he had treated her like a real person, not just a random date, that she hadn't even considered the possibility that he might be someone far more influential. She cleared her throat, trying to steady herself. I had no idea, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I thought you were just some tech guy. But a CEO? That's a big deal. Her words felt clumsy, like she was fumbling with something too delicate for her to handle. He laughed softly, the sound warm and comforting, as if he wasn't bothered by her shock. Yeah, I guess it is, he replied, his expression a mix of amusement and something else, maybe resignation. But I don't want you to think I'm just another guy with money trying to buy his way through life. I've been working hard to build my company, but it doesn't mean I don't get lonely, or that I'm not tired of all the fake interactions I have to deal with. Sometimes, I just want to connect with someone who doesn't see the dollar signs first. He paused, as if choosing his next words carefully. I saw that in you. You were different. And that's why I didn't correct you when you thought I was Kevin. I didn't want to be that guy who throws his title around. His eyes locked onto hers, and there was an honesty in them that made her breath catch. The weight of his words settled over her, and for the first time in a long time, Lily felt like she wasn't the only one with something to prove. Here he was, someone with everything: money, success, influence, and yet he still craved real connection. It was strange, almost impossible to believe, but she could hear the truth in his voice. She had made an assumption about him earlier, just like he had assumed about her. But this conversation was different. This wasn't about pretending anymore. I never thought I would be sitting here with someone like you, Lily said, her voice low, trying to make sense of everything. I mean, I've never had the chance to meet anyone like you. I'm just trying to make ends meet, you know? She paused, feeling vulnerable. It wasn't like her to open up about her struggles, but something about Liam made her feel safe enough to do so. I work at a diner, and I barely scrape by. I have big dreams, but reality keeps getting in the way. Her words hung in the air, and for a moment, the silence between them was comfortable, not awkward. Liam didn't respond immediately. Instead, he took a slow sip of his drink, his eyes thoughtful. When he spoke again, his tone was softer, almost like he was choosing his words carefully. I get it, he said. I was the same way when I started. I wasn't always this. Well, successful is a nice word for it, I guess. But you don't get here without sacrifices, and you don't stay here without being willing to keep working for it. I know it's hard, but I also know that the right opportunities can come from unexpected places. He leaned in slightly, his gaze never leaving hers. And you, Lily, you've got something special. Your passion, your determination. You don't find that in just anyone. He smiled, the expression genuine and warm. Her chest tightened. She had heard these kinds of compliments before, but never from someone who seemed so sincere. She had been wary of people who only saw the surface, who only noticed her job or her appearance. But this was different. He wasn't looking at her like she was just another face in the crowd. He was actually seeing her. And for the first time, Lily felt like maybe she was worth seeing. I don't know what to say, Lily replied, her voice barely above a whisper. I've never really had anyone look at me like that before. She smiled softly, a mix of disbelief and gratitude in her heart. Liam's smile softened. You don't have to say anything. I'm just telling you the truth. And the truth is, you're more than just the waitress or the girl who made an embarrassing mistake tonight. You're someone who has a lot to offer. And I think you deserve more than what you're settling for. His words hit her like a wave, washing over her, and for the first time in a long time, she felt like she had more than just dreams. She had a chance. But as the moment stretched between them, Lily couldn't help but feel a flicker of doubt. Was this real? Was she just another person he could help because of his wealth? Or did he really see something in her? She wasn't sure, but the way he spoke made her want to believe. And for the first time in a long time, Lily thought maybe, just maybe, this night wasn't a mistake after all. What are you going to do now? She asked, her voice low. You've made your point, Liam. But what happens after tonight? After the gala? She wasn't sure if. She wanted an answer, but she needed one. She needed to know what he was thinking, what this moment meant for both of them. He took a deep breath and then looked her in the eyes, his gaze steady. I don't know, he said. But I do know one thing. I want to find out. And with that, Lily's heart skipped a beat, realizing that she had just stepped into something far bigger than herself. I think I'm starting to understand, Lily said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. She and Liam had stepped away from the crowd for a while, finding a quieter spot near the balcony overlooking the city. The night air felt crisp against her skin, but the warmth from their conversation seemed to shield her from the chill. The moment still felt surreal. This was a billionaire CEO, someone she could never have imagined crossing paths with. Yet here they were, sharing an intimate conversation. The vulnerability she felt was both strange and comforting. Liam turned toward her, his expression serious but gentle. I think you're beginning to understand me, too, he said, his eyes softening as he studied her. But the real question is, what are you going to do with this understanding? His voice held an undercurrent of something more, a quiet challenge that made Lily's heart race. She looked down at her hands, twisting her fingers together nervously. It was hard to fathom what was happening between them. A few hours ago, she had been a waitress at a gala, barely scraping by, uncertain of her future. And now, she was standing here with a man who could offer her everything. Money, opportunities, connections, things she had never dreamed of. But that wasn't what mattered, was it? She didn't want any of that. She wanted to be seen, to be understood. She wanted someone who could connect with her on a deeper level, not just because of her potential or her struggles, but because of who she was. She met his gaze, her voice steady but uncertain. I don't know, Liam. I've always been on my own, figuring things out one step at a time. I never really had anyone to turn to. Not like this. I've been living in survival mode, you know? Just trying to keep my head above water. But you make me feel like there's more to life than just getting by. And that's terrifying. Because what if I fail? What if all of this is just a dream, and I wake up to find nothing has changed? Her words tumbled out in a rush, as if she was revealing something deep within herself that she had kept hidden for so long. Liam's expression softened, and for a moment, he didn't speak. He just watched her, his gaze unwavering. Then, slowly, he reached out and gently placed his hand on hers, his touch warm and reassuring. You won't fail, Lily, he said, his voice steady and sincere. And you're not alone anymore. We all have moments where we doubt ourselves, where we question everything we've worked for. But that's part of the journey. It's the risk, the uncertainty, that makes the reward worth it. And you have something that most people don't have. You have the ability to keep going, no matter what. That's what makes you special. That's what makes you worth investing in. His words were simple, but they struck a chord deep inside her. He was offering her something more than just words. He was offering his belief in her. He was offering her a chance. She swallowed hard, the lump in her throat making it hard to speak. I've never had someone believe in me like that before, she said quietly, her voice thick with emotion. I've always had to prove myself to everyone, to fight for my place in the world. I never thought anyone would see me for who I really am. I never thought anyone would see my potential. She paused, her chest tightening as she tried to hold back the tears that threatened to fall. Liam squeezed her hand gently. I see you, Lily, he said softly. And I'm not the only one. There are people out there who will see you for exactly who you are, for your strength and your heart. You just have to let them in. You have to let yourself take that leap, trust in yourself, and in the people who care about you. His words were a quiet affirmation, like a lifeline thrown to her in the middle of a storm. For a long moment, Lily didn't speak. She just sat there, absorbing everything he had said, feeling the weight of his belief in her and the weight of her own doubts. But something in her shifted, something inside. Her heart stirred, and for the first time in a long time, she felt like she could actually believe in herself, too. She wasn't just a waitress. She wasn't just a woman struggling to get by. She was someone worthy of more, worthy of the opportunity to build a better life, to chase her dreams. What if I do take that leap? She asked softly, almost to herself. What if I trust myself and trust you? The question hung in the air between them, both terrifying and exhilarating at the same time. But for once, she didn't feel like she was making a mistake. For once, she felt like it was okay to take a chance. Liam's smile grew, and he looked at her with a quiet intensity. Then we'll both see what happens, he said. And I'll be there, right beside you, every step of the way. His words were simple, but they carried a weight of promise. A promise that he would not just walk with her in this journey, but that he would help guide her through it. Lily took a deep breath, the air feeling a little lighter in her lungs. She didn't know what the future held, but for the first time, she was willing to find out. For the first time, she felt like she had the support, the belief, and the courage to face whatever came next. She didn't have all the answers, but she was ready to take the first step. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough. She looked up at Liam, her heart pounding in her chest, and smiled softly. Okay, she said quietly. Let's do this. And with that, everything changed. I don't think I've ever seen you smile this much, Jenny remarked, a teasing grin playing on her lips as she sat down beside Lily at the cafe a week after the gala. You've been glowing since that night. And I know you've been keeping something from me. Spill it. What happened? Lily laughed softly, trying to brush off the obvious shift in her mood. But she couldn't deny that something had changed. Since that evening with Liam, she felt like a weight had been lifted off her shoulders, a weight she hadn't even realized was there. It's just, things have been moving fast, you know? Lily said, her voice light, yet filled with a quiet excitement. I don't know how to explain it, but I've been thinking a lot about what he said that night. And the more I think about it, the more I feel like maybe I really can make something of myself. Maybe I'm not as stuck as I thought. She looked down at her hands, noticing how they weren't shaking anymore, how her pulse felt steady. Ginny raised an eyebrow, her curiosity piqued. I'm guessing that means you and Liam are getting along pretty well? She nudged Lily, her eyes sparkling with playful mischief. You've been texting him nonstop for days, and I haven't seen you smile like that since forever. Lily's face flushed slightly, but she couldn't help the smile that tugged at her lips. She didn't want to admit it, but Ginny was right. There was something between her and Liam that felt different. It's more than just texting, Lily replied, her voice softening as she spoke. I've been spending time with him, talking to him about everything. He's not what I expected. He's not just a CEO. He's real. And he sees me. Like, really sees me. Not just because I'm a waitress or because I need help, but because he thinks I have something to offer. And I've never had someone look at me like that before. She paused, letting the weight of her words sink in. For a moment, Ginny was quiet, her eyes watching Lily closely. I've never seen you talk like this about anyone. This is big, huh? She said, her voice gentle. You deserve someone who sees you for who you are, not just what you do. But just remember, Lily, you're in control here. No matter what happens, you've got to keep doing this for yourself, not because of him or anyone else. She smiled warmly, squeezing Lily's hand. Lily nodded, grateful for Ginny's support. I know, she said softly. And that's why I've been thinking about it. What if this really is my chance? What if I can actually make something of my life? Not just for him or anyone else, but for me. For my dreams. I mean, I've always wanted to open my own art studio. I've always wanted more than just a paycheck. And maybe, just maybe, I can make it happen. But it's scary, you know? It's one thing to dream about it, and another to actually go for it. Her words tumbled out, her thoughts scattered but clear in their intention. Ginny's smile widened. You've already taken the first step, Lily, she said. You've made the decision to believe in yourself. Now, it's just a matter of doing the work and taking it one day at a time. And no matter what, I've got your back. Always. Her words were a comfort, grounding Lily in the reality that this wasn't just a passing feeling. This was a shift, a moment where she was starting to trust herself again. That afternoon, after meeting with Ginny, Lily found herself back at home, sitting on her couch with a sketchbook in front of her. The past few days had been a whirlwind. Liam had offered to help her get her foot in the door with a potential gallery opening, and they'd spent more time together, talking about everything and nothing. Each conversation made her feel more alive, more capable, and more certain that this path, whatever it was the right one for her. But there was still one lingering question that she hadn't fully addressed. What did this mean for her and Liam? Was this just a brief connection, a fling, or something more? She flipped open her sketchbook, her fingers lightly grazing the pages filled with drawings, some finished, others still rough sketches. Her eyes traced the lines of a piece she had started months ago, but never finished. It was a cityscape, a dream of what she wanted her future to look like. She had started it when things were difficult, when she couldn't see a way out, but now the lines seemed to come to life under her fingertips. She picked up her pencil, and without thinking, began to fill in the gaps. Each stroke was a promise, each line a step toward her future. Hours passed, and when Lily finally leaned back, her eyes tired but satisfied, she realized something. She wasn't just drawing for the sake of drawing anymore. She was drawing her future. And Liam was right. She did have something to offer. Not just to him, not just to anyone else, but to herself. She had the power to shape her own life. The phone buzzed on the table beside her, breaking her concentration. She glanced at the screen. It was a message from Liam. Hey Lily, I've been thinking about our conversation. I want to help. You make this dream of yours a reality. Let's meet tomorrow and talk about how we can make it happen. I'm in your corner, always. Her heart fluttered at the words, and a smile crept onto her face. This was it. This was her chance. No more doubting. No more holding back. She had a dream, and she wasn't going to let anything or anyone stop her from chasing it. With a deep breath, she typed back, "Thank you, Liam. I'm ready. Let's do this." As she sent the message, Lily couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement bubbling inside her. It was the beginning of something new, something real, and this time, it was her choice. She wasn't waiting for someone else to decide her fate. She was taking control of her future. And for the first time in a long time, Lily felt like she was exactly where she needed to be. I have a feeling everything is about to change, Lily thought to herself as she stood in front of the door to Liam's office the next morning. The message he had sent the night before was still fresh in her mind. Let's meet tomorrow and talk about how we can make your dream a reality. She had read those words over and over, each time feeling a little more certain that this was the moment that could define the rest of her life. It was an exciting thought, but also terrifying. She had always dreamed of this day, dreamed of someone giving her the opportunity to do something bigger than just surviving. But now that it was happening, she wasn't sure she was ready. With a deep breath, she pushed the door open and stepped inside. Liam was already sitting at his desk, his usual confident demeanor in place. But today, there was something softer about him, something that made her feel less like the waitress from a diner and more like someone who actually belonged here. She walked toward him slowly, her heart beating faster with each step. He stood up as she entered, a welcoming smile lighting up his face. "Lily," he said, his voice warm. "I'm glad you're here." His words sent a rush of relief through her, and she smiled back, trying to steady her nerves. "Thank you for meeting me," she replied, her voice a little shakier than she intended. She took a seat across from him, her hands fidgeting in her lap. I wasn't sure what to expect." Her mind raced with questions, but she didn't want to sound too eager. She had to play it cool, even if her heart was pounding. Liam leaned forward slightly, his gaze thoughtful. "I understand. This is a big step, and I know it's not easy. But you've got something real here, Lily. Something more than just an idea." He paused for a moment, looking at her with a mixture of respect and encouragement. "And I want to help you bring it to life. This isn't just about giving you a chance. It's about believing in you, believing in your vision. Because I can see it. I can see the fire in you. And that's exactly what you need to succeed." His words were calm, but they held a weight that made her believe in them. For a moment, Lily couldn't speak. She just sat there, stunned by his confidence in her. It was one thing for her to believe in herself. It was another entirely for someone like Liam to do so. He wasn't just a businessman. He was a man who had built his empire from the ground up, and for him to see something in her meant more than she could put into words. She had never expected this, never dreamed that someone of his stature would be willing to invest in her future. But here he was, offering it all. "I don't even know where to start," she said finally, her voice a little more steady now. "I've always wanted to open my own art studio, but I didn't think I could ever actually make it happen. I didn't have the money, the resources, or the connections. But now," she trailed off, her mind racing with the possibilities. "You don't have to have all the answers right now," Liam replied, his tone gentle. "What you have is the desire, the passion. That's what matters most. And that's why we're here today, to figure out the next steps, together. I have the resources, and you have the vision. We can make this work. But it's going to take time, hard work, and a lot of commitment. Are you ready for that?" His eyes locked onto hers, and she could see the sincerity in his gaze. This was it. This was the moment she had been waiting for. The moment when everything she had worked for, all the sacrifices, all the late nights dreaming of a future she wasn't sure she could reach, it all came down to this. It wasn't just about money or business connections. It was about believing in herself enough to take the leap. She wasn't sure if she was ready, but something inside her told her that this was the right path. The fear that had held her back for so long was still there, but now it was mixed with something else, a spark of hope, a glimmer of excitement. "I'm ready," she said, her voice strong now, despite the flutter of nerves in her chest. "I'm ready to take the leap. I've always wanted this, and I'm not going to let fear stop me now." She looked at him, her eyes filled with determination. Liam smiled, and the warmth in his expression made her feel like she had made the right choice. "Good," he said, standing up and walking around the desk to sit beside her. "We'll start by getting you the right people, the right space, and the right plan. We'll build it from the ground up. You won't be doing this alone." He reached out and placed a hand on her shoulder, a reassuring gesture that made her feel more confident than she had in days. For the next hour, they talked about everything, from the logistics of starting her art studio to the creative vision she had in mind. Liam listened intently, offering advice and asking questions that made her think deeper about her goals. It wasn't just a business meeting, it felt like a partnership. They were in this together, and for the first time, Lily felt like she had someone who believed in her just as much as she wanted to believe in herself. When the meeting ended, she stood up, feeling lighter than she had in months. She had a plan now. She had a future. And most importantly, she had someone who had given her a chance, someone who had seen her potential and wanted to help her achieve it. "Thank you," she said, her voice full of gratitude. "For everything. For believing in me." She smiled, a genuine smile that reached her eyes. Liam nodded, his expression serious but kind. "No need to thank me," he said. "You've done the hard part. Now it's time to make your dreams a reality. And I'm with you every step of the way." As Lily walked out of his office, she felt a sense of purpose she hadn't known in years. She was no longer just surviving. She was ready to thrive. And with Liam's support, she knew that this was only the beginning. "I can't believe this is really happening," Lily thought as she stood in the middle of the gallery space, her hands shaking slightly as she looked around. The space was just as she had imagined, wide open, with tall windows letting in streams of natural light, the perfect place for her to display her work. The floor was polished, the walls clean and white, waiting to be filled with the colors and life of her art. This was the dream she had been building towards, a dream that Liam had helped her make a reality. After months of hard work and planning, this was the moment. Her first art exhibition was about to open. She could hardly believe it. Just a few months ago, she had been a waitress, barely making ends meet, with only a faint hope of ever owning her own art studio. Now, here she was, standing in the very space where her creations would be displayed for the world to see. And it wasn't just the gallery that was the big change. Liam had become an unexpected source of support, offering her more than just financial help. He had offered her belief in herself, a belief she hadn't known she was capable of having. As she walked through the gallery, her thoughts wandered back to the days after their first meeting. The meetings with Liam had been intense, but also encouraging. He helped her connect with the right people, gave her the resources to get her art studio up and running, and pushed her to take the leap into the art world. He had been there every step of the way, not just as a mentor, but as someone who truly cared about her success. That meant more to her than anything else. It wasn't just the money or the connections. It was the way he believed in her dreams as much as she was starting to. The gallery was starting to fill with people, the buzz of conversation filling the air. The guests were starting to mingle, admire the artwork, and appreciate the creativity that had gone into each piece. The excitement in the air was contagious, but it wasn't until she saw Liam that the full weight of the night hit her. He was standing across the room, talking to a group of people, his usual confident demeanor intact. But when his eyes met hers, he smiled, and Lily felt something shift within her. It was a smile of approval, of acknowledgement for all the hard work that had led them here. She took a deep breath, smoothing the front of her dress. She had spent hours earlier in the day getting ready for this moment. She wanted to look perfect, not just for herself, but for everyone who had supported her along the way. But as she made her way over to him, she realized that it wasn't about the perfect dress or the perfect presentation. It was about the journey. It was about the growth, the change, and the realization that she had done something she once thought impossible. She had created something real, something meaningful, and tonight was a celebration of that. As she reached Liam, he excused himself from the group and walked over to her, his eyes lighting up when he saw her. "You look amazing," he said, his voice warm and genuine. "I knew you had it in you. Look at this place, it's all yours." He gestured to the gallery around them, the walls lined with her art. Lily smiled, her heart swelling with pride. "I couldn't have done it without you," she said, her voice a little shaky, but filled with gratitude. "This is more than I ever dreamed of. I don't even know how to thank you." She looked at him, feeling the weight of everything they had accomplished together. Liam shook his head, his smile soft. "You don't need to thank me," he said, his voice steady. "This is all you. You did the hard work. You believed in yourself when no one else did. I just gave you a little push. The rest was all you." He paused for a moment, his expression serious. "And I'm proud of you. You should be proud of yourself too. This is just the beginning." His words hung in the air, and Lily felt a wave of emotion wash over her. For a moment, neither of them spoke. They just stood there, looking at the space they had created together, the culmination of all their efforts. Lily could feel the tears threatening to fall, but she blinked them away, not wanting to break the moment. Just then, a woman approached them, holding a glass of champagne in one hand. She was smiling, clearly excited to see the artwork. "These are incredible," she said, gesturing toward the walls. "I love the way you capture emotion in each piece. It's like they're alive." Lily smiled, humbled by the praise. The woman introduced herself, and they quickly fell into conversation, the evening flowing smoothly from one interaction to the next. People came and went, admiring her work, asking questions, and offering compliments. It felt surreal, like a dream she was finally living. As the night wore on, the gallery continued to fill with people, and Lily found herself overwhelmed by the outpouring of support. She was talking to a group of guests when she noticed a familiar face across the room. Liam was standing with a man who looked vaguely familiar, his arm casually resting on Liam's shoulder as they shared a laugh. The man turned, catching her gaze. It was then that she recognized him. He was one of the investors Liam had mentioned. Her heart skipped a beat as she realized just how far they had come. The investor approached, a friendly smile on his face. "Lily," he said, extending a hand. "I've heard a lot about you. I'm impressed with your work. You've got something special here." His words sent a thrill through her, and she shook his hand, feeling the weight of everything she had worked for settling into place. By the end of the night, Lily was overwhelmed with the success of the event. It wasn't just the praise or the compliments. It was the realization that she had done it. She had taken the leap, trusted in herself, and built something from the ground up. She looked at Liam one last time before she left, her heart full of gratitude. He had been more than just a mentor. He had been the catalyst for her change, and for the first time in a long time, Lily knew that her dreams were no longer just dreams. They were her reality. Lily stood in front of the gallery the next morning, the doors now closed for the day, but the excitement of the previous night still lingered in the air. The art exhibition had been a success, far more than she could have imagined, and as the final guests had left, she found herself standing in the middle of the space, her heart full of gratitude and disbelief. She had done it. This was her dream realized, but it was more than just the opening of a gallery. It was the beginning of a new chapter in her life. She couldn't help but reflect on everything that had led her here. Just a few months ago, she had been working tirelessly at a diner, trying to make ends meet, unsure of whether her dreams of becoming an artist would ever materialize. But now, not only had she opened her own art gallery, but she had also proven to herself that she was capable of so much more than she had ever thought possible. She had taken the leap, and, with a little help and a lot of hard work, she had landed exactly where she wanted to be. Liam's words echoed in her mind. "You've got something real here, Lily. Something more than just an idea." He had been right. She had something special to offer. Her creativity, her vision, and her determination to make it all work. It hadn't been easy, but it had been worth every moment of doubt, every late night spent working on her pieces, every risk she had taken. As she walked around the gallery, her fingers lightly touching the frames that held her artwork, Lily felt an overwhelming sense of pride. This was hers. And as the days passed, her confidence grew. The conversations she had with potential buyers, the networking with other artists, and the collaborations she was now being approached for, it was all part of a new world she was stepping into. And it felt good. It felt right. But there was something else that had shifted in Lily's life, something she hadn't expected. Over the past few weeks, Liam had become more than just her mentor. He had become someone she trusted, someone who had supported her not only in her career, but also in her personal growth. He had shown her that she didn't have to face everything alone, that she didn't have to fight her battles in isolation. As they spent more time together, they found themselves sharing more than just conversations about business and art. They talked about their pasts, their dreams, and their fears. Liam had revealed to her the challenges he had faced in building his empire, the loneliness he had felt despite his success, and the difficulties of maintaining genuine relationships in a world driven by money and status. And in turn, Lily had shared her own struggles, how she had grown up feeling overlooked, how she had buried her own desires for the sake of survival, and how she had learned to doubt her own worth. But in each other, they had found someone who understood, someone who didn't see them for their titles or their pasts, but for the people they were today. And with each passing day, their connection deepened. Lily had never expected to find someone who would believe in her so fully, and Liam had never expected to find someone who could make him feel so seen. It wasn't just a business partnership. It was something more, something real. One evening, after a long day at the gallery, Liam invited Lily out for dinner. They sat at a small table in a cozy restaurant, the soft glow of the candlelight flickering between them. As they talked about their plans for the future, something shifted in the air. Lily felt the weight of everything they had been through together, the challenges, the growth, the moments of doubt, and she realized that, in all of it, she had found something far more valuable than success or recognition. She had found someone who cared, someone who had changed her life in ways she never imagined. As they finished their meal, Liam reached across the table, his hand resting gently on hers. "Lily," he began, his voice soft but steady, "you've been through so much to get here, and I'm so proud of everything you've accomplished. But I also want you to know that I believe in you, not just as an artist, but as a person. You've got something truly special, and I can't wait to see where you go next." His words hit her like a wave. She had heard similar things from him before, but this time, it felt different. There was a depth in his voice, a sincerity that made her heart swell. And in that moment, she realized that what they shared was far more than just business or art. It was a partnership, a bond that had grown deeper over time. Lily looked at him, her eyes soft with emotion. "I don't know what to say," she whispered. "You've done so much for me, Liam. I never expected this, any of this." Her voice caught in her throat as she fought to hold back tears. "I never thought I'd be here, living this life. I never thought someone like you would believe in me." He smiled gently, his thumb brushing the back of her hand. "You've always had it in you, Lily. I just helped you see it." His words were simple, but they held so much meaning. He had given her more than just an opportunity. He had given her the confidence to believe in herself. As they stood to leave the restaurant, Liam pulled her close, his arms wrapping around her in a warm embrace. Lily closed her eyes, feeling the weight of the moment. She wasn't just stepping into a new chapter of her career. She was stepping into a new life, a life where she was no longer alone, no longer uncertain. She had found her place, and she had found someone who was willing to walk beside her. And as they walked out into the cool night air, hand in hand, Lily knew that this was just the beginning. The future was uncertain, but for the first time, she wasn't afraid of it. She was ready for whatever came next, because she had everything she needed to succeed: herself, her dreams, and the person who believed in her more than anyone ever had. Discover a compelling tale of transformation in this captivating video, as we follow a young woman's journey from a humble waitress to a successful artist with the help of a millionaire mentor. In this inspiring story, she learns that success isn't just about money or fame, but about believing in oneself and taking chances. This is one of the most heartwarming millionaire stories, filled with unexpected twists and powerful moments of self-discovery. Watch as she navigates through challenges, finds true support from an unlikely source, and ultimately achieves her dreams. Through this millionaire story, we see how kindness, belief, and hard work can change someone's life forever. If you love motivational and uplifting millionaire stories, this journey of growth and redemption will leave you inspired. Let this incredible millionaire story remind you that with the right mindset and support, anyone can achieve their dreams, no matter where they start. Don't miss out on this emotional and transformative experience that showcases the power of dreams and the impact of millionaire stories.